The San Francisco Giants have a serious problem. Buster Posey and Zach Manosian are setting themselves, new manager Tony Vitello, and the entire team up for disappointment with the lack of significant upgrades to the rotation heading into the 2026 season. We'll be breaking it down here on SF Giants Digest, but before we do that, make sure to go down below and hit the subscribe button. I've noticed 82% of you guys watching the videos are not actually subscribed. It's completely free and it means a ton to me and everyone at Digest Media. If you went down, hit the subscribe button, I promise you will not miss a thing all offseason. Before we get into the news today, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. When you download Kalshi, use the link below and enter code DIGESTMLB, you'll get $20 when you trade your first $100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform you can trade yes or no on real-life events such as sports, elections, news, and pretty much everything in between. Whether you're in California, Texas, or anywhere else across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. For sports fans, trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out anytime. For example, you think the Giants are a sleeper team to win the World Series, win the National League? They currently have a 3% chance on Kalshi. The World Baseball Classic's coming up. Our guy Logan Webb is suiting up for Team USA, who I think is going to take it all, and they have a 38% chance on Kalshi right now. You can check that out currently on Kalshi.com. It's genuinely a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Download Kalshi with the link in the description, and don't forget to use code DIGESTMLB to get your $20 bonus. And thank you once again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the news. So as you could probably tell from the intro, we are talking about the rotation in today's video, and after the additions of Tyler Mahle and Adrian Houser, it looks like it is set heading into the 2026 season. Now we could be surprised, they could somehow add one of the top end arms like a Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, in a lower year, higher AAV deal, but Zach Manosian has already said that they are comfortable with the guys they have brought in. They're comfortable with the group as it currently stands, and they have a lot of confidence in the young arms that are providing depth to the rotation currently. So this is what the opening day rotation is most likely going to look like. Obviously, Logan Webb and Robbie Ray at the top, and then do the new guys, Tyler Mahle, Adrian Houser, slide into, I would say, the 4 and 5 role. I would personally call Landon Roupp the 3 in this rotation because of some of the spurts we saw from him last season. From the end of June to the end of July last year, he was one of the best starting pitchers in baseball from a run prevention standpoint. So it's an interesting back 3, but overall, it's a very, very underwhelming group. When you talk about the Giants' window to competing is currently open right now. You sign Willy Adames, you extend Matt Chapman, and you trade for one of the best hitters in baseball in Rafael Devers, yet you do not add a significant arm to the top of the rotation to pair with Logan Webb. I do think this is a failure, and you're not truly trying to win and compete this season if this is your rotation heading into the season. However, Tyler Mahle, Adrian Houser do offer some affordability with a decent amount of upside. Tyler Mahle has a much more upside than Adrian Houser. Adrian Houser is a 5, any way you look at it, in my opinion. But it is an interesting group of guys, of course, led by our ace, Logan Webb. Now, every year, Logan Webb turns out, some of the best seasons in Major League Baseball. Last season was another phenomenal year from our ace, 207 innings pitched at a 3.22 earned run average, 5.5 wins above replacement, which is a career high. Typically, he's in the 4s. Since 2021, he's been in the 4s every single season, which is extremely impressive. You see that 5.5 from last year, 4.9, 4.4. So he is one of the most valuable pitchers in Major League Baseball year in and year out. The one thing that we saw in 2025 was that strikeout rate take a big jump up. Struck out 9.74 guys per 9 innings. For a lot of the season, he was in the 10s in that numbers. So a very, very impressive year from Logan Webb. He finished 4th in the Cy Young. I personally think he was top 3, but either way, he led the National League in strikeouts, led the entire league in innings. He is our ace. He turns out 200 plus innings every single season, and it is extremely, extremely fun to watch. And we are thankful to have Webb because behind him, there is a good amount of uncertainty in this group. Obviously, in the 2 spot currently is Robbie Ray, the only southpaw in the group, and he's coming off of a strong season overall. It was 182 innings, which I don't think any of us saw coming, as it was his first season coming off of Tommy John surgery. But either way, 182 innings, a 3.65 earned average, and 2.2 wins above replacement. Struck out just over 9 guys per 9 innings, walked a bit of a high number in the walk rate, 3.6 walks per 9, but this doesn't really tell the full story from Robbie Ray's 2025 season. The first half, the first few months, really, he was nails. He was arguably better than Logan Webb for a little bit, but the back half, he really tailed off. Late August and pretty much all of September, he was awful, to be honest, but it was to be expected. His first season back from Tommy John, he grew a little bit tired. He was leaving pitches up, and the fastball didn't have as much zip on it, as much carry, and he got banged a little bit towards the end of the season. And interesting enough, the 2.2 wins above replacement, it was the same exact number as Justin Verlander, which was a bit concerning because Verlander threw 30 less innings than Ray. That is probably why Fangraphs see a pretty strong regression from Robbie Ray heading into next year. The green bars at the bottom, those are all predictions from Fangraphs. You see the ERA, they have him from a 4.2 to a 4.56. They still have him supplying a good amount of innings in the 180 range, which would be important for this rotation that has a lot of uncertainty and a lack of surplus of innings for the careers of some of the guys that they added this offseason. The predictions are a 4.18 FIP to a 4.48 FIP. They still see him striking out a lot of guys, but they see that walk rate staying pretty high in the mid threes. So it's a bit concerning that these projections have some serious regression coming for Robbie Ray, as that is your number 2. And if you get a 4.20 and 180 innings from your number 2, that is not a very good rotation. However, it's just a projection. These things are wrong all the time, and they definitely did not have him having the season he had last year projected heading into 2025. Now, the next two guys are the new faces, Tyler Mahle, Adrian Houser. Mahle, he's had an interesting career up until this point. You see the ERA from last season was a 2.18 in just 86 innings. The 2 years before that, only 25 innings, 12 innings. He has struggled with injury mightily throughout the last 3 seasons. The one season he was available for all 33 starts was in 2021, 180 innings, a 3.75 earned run average, and 3.9 wins above replacement. That was also the second highest strikeout rate of his career at 10.5 Ks per 9. The year before that, in 2020, the COVID year, he had 11.33 Ks per 9. So he does have a history of striking out a lot of guys, but last season that was not the case, less than 7 Ks per 9 innings. We have seen the ground ball rate rise throughout his career. We've seen some years where it has crept into the low to mid 40s. Last year it was still pretty good at a 38.8% rate, and we know the San Francisco Giants love their ground ball guys, so I would not be surprised to see that number jump back into the 40%. We know Bruce Bochy was a big defender of Tyler Mahle. He's part of the reason the Giants were interested in him this offseason, and when you hear Bruce Bochy recommend a player, you probably want to listen. However, this is a very risky signing. You see the lack of innings across the last few seasons, and it's very possible you're paying this guy $10 million a season to throw 50 innings if the injury history that we've seen recently continues that trend. He has said that he feels the best he has since 2021, so that is encouraging, but it is not something to bet on him throwing north of 120 innings, which he's only done a few times across his career. Now, the next guy, Adrian Houser, the Giants I was surprised he got the 2-year deal over Tyler Mahle, but he did get a 2-year deal with a 3rd year for an option. Last year was kind of a career year for him. In 125 innings, which is the second highest total of his career, he threw to a 3.31 ERA with 2.3 wins above replacement, which is the highest of his career by a pretty wide margin. He's not a big strikeout guy, as you could tell from those Ks per 9's number. Last year it was 6.62, but he is a very high ground ball pitcher with a career percentage of 51.3 of keeping the ball on the ground. So that is something, like I said, we know the Giants absolutely love. Last season, he saw a huge jump in fastball velocity and the slider velocity. You can see in the VFA, that was 95.3, which is the highest of his career. And that slider, miles per hour, I don't have it here, but it jumped to like 6 to 7 miles an hour, which is obviously a very different pitch when you're jumping that far in velocity. And it was effective. That's why, he had a career season, the lowest ERA in a surplus of innings of his career. And that's definitely why the Giants offered him the 2-year deal. It's not breaking the bank, but if you get something similar to 2025, then that is an amazing deal. I mean, a low 3s ERA, you hope there's more than 125 innings, but if you can get that level of production at just $11 million a season, that is a big win. We saw Merrill Kelly sign for $20 million a year earlier this offseason. If you can get something similar to that at $9 million less, then that is a great deal. However, he is just a 5. He's a back of the rotation arm. He's coming off of a career year, which is always risky signing guys coming off of a career year. So we will have to just wait and see what we get from Adrian Houser at the 4 or 5 spot of the rotation. Now, the last guy is Landon Roupp, who we are going to talk about. Like I said, I personally have him as the 3 in the rotation just because of the spurts we saw last season, but understandably, Tyler Mahle, Adrian Houser do have more big league service time. They have more of a rap sheet of success in Major League Baseball, even if they do not have the surplus of innings. But Landon Roupp had an extremely strong 2025. At the 3.80 ERA in 106 innings do not tell the full story. If you take out his last 2 starts, which we know were mixed in between 2 different injuries, it was the arm and then of course the knee injury at the end of the season. His ERA drops, a pretty significant chunk. Those last 2 starts did not help his case at all, but he still, accumulated 1.1 wins above replacement in 106 innings. And in 2024, in his service time with the Giants, it was a 3.58 ERA in 50 innings. He's just similar to Logan Webb, I would say, just pretty consistently churning out solid starts. He's not going to blow you away with amazing starts. He's not going to, go 9 innings of shutout baseball, but he's going to be a solid back of the rotation arm. And we saw runs last year, like I said, from the end of June to the end of July last year. I believe it was the 4th best ERA mark in all of baseball. So he can go on runs where he's, doing well against good teams. He's not going to strike out a ton of guys, a pretty high ground ball percentage as well at 45% for his career. But once again, the projections have him regressing, not significantly, but pretty notably. A lot of them have him at a 4.10 ERA in 132 innings pitched. The innings is concerning. We haven't seen him throw a ton of innings across his big league career. Of course, it is still early, but the bat projections have him at a 4.26 earned run average in 118 innings, which would be good for 1.7 wins above replacement. So we are hoping for, something similar to what we saw from Landon Roupp last season, but we'd want to see it in, a bigger sample, more innings, of course. Going back to Tyler Mahle, their projections have him at anywhere from a 4.17 to a 4.43 earned run average. They both have him at around 140 to 150 innings and accumulating between 1.4 to 1.8 wins above replacement. And interesting enough, I compared Tyler Mahle to Tatsuya Imai's projected wins above replacement projected season, and they are eerily similar. I put out a tweet talking about it, and obviously a lot of Giants fans wanted to hand the money out to Tatsuya Imai. He ended up not getting a huge contract from the Houston Astros, but I think it's clear that the entire industry, all of Major League Baseball, the scouts, the GMs, the presidents, they do not see what a lot of fans see in Tatsuya Imai and do not think that his arsenal, his stuff is going to transfer the way that a lot of other people do. It will be interesting to see what the Giants get out of Tyler Mahle and Adrian Houser. Of course, we know that Logan Webb is going to be a top 5, top 10 Cy Young candidate every single season. He's pitching the World Baseball Classic year. That'll be fun to watch. Robbie Ray, you hope that he repeats what he did last season, especially in the first half, but regression would not be a surprise in my opinion. Tyler Mahle, Adrian Houser, these are, like I said, they bring a lot of affordability. They won't supply a lot of innings, and you hope that they can repeat what they did last season, which were career years for both of them in terms of run prevention. And then, of course, Landon Roupp, you hope that he repeats what he did last season and throws more innings. You want to see more innings from that guy, and hopefully he can climb to be, a solid 3 or 4 starter in Major League Baseball. I do think the Giants are setting themselves up for failure in this division in the National League. You look at the Dodgers, their rotation. Obviously, they're stacked and no one's going to spend the way they do. But if you're trying to compete with the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, Giants actually do have a better rotation than the Padres in terms of projected wins above replacement. But the Padres are still probably a deeper team. Their bullpen is much, much better than the Giants. The Diamondbacks have a better rotation than the Giants. The Dodgers, of course, do. When you're talking about bringing in Tony Vitello, you are setting him up for failure with this rotation. Buster Posey, you'd think he'd want to, spend bigger in the rotation and go for a World Series, but this rotation does not necessarily signal that. And if this does not work out the way that they think it will, there will be real questions about, Greg Johnson, Larry Baer, and all of ownership on their true commitment to winning a World Series and bringing winning baseball back to San Francisco, which we've seen a ton of mediocrity across the last near decade in San Francisco. Let me know down below what you think of this rotation heading into the 2026 season. It looks like it's finally set, and this will be the group heading into the regular season on opening day. Let me know down below what you think, and make sure to subscribe to SF Giants Digest.